Welcome to my next Better Call Saul Season 4 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am every watching or watching Better Call Saul, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, I've already seen every episode of Better Call Saul one time. I binged it. I didn't necessarily take my time with it. I binged it so I could get caught up with the new episodes when it actually aired in Season 6. And actually, I did review videos of Better Call Saul Season 6. If you want to check those out and you've already seen every single episode of this amazing show, click right here with about 20 seconds left to go in the video. That's the end screen. That'll be my Better Call Saul Season 6 episode reviews. And you can click right here for my Breaking Bad reviews, rankings, and all that and more. But I'm a big fan of a show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I would say Better Call Saul might be as high as 6 on my favorite TV shows of all time, where Breaking Bad is in the top 5. So it's an amazing universe. And I definitely want to do these detailed reviews covering this show. So with all that said, this will be Better Call Saul Season 4, Episode 2. The title of this episode is called Breathe. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. So Barry Goodman and Victor secretly examine Hector Salamanca as Gus Fring waits in the parking lot outside. When Barry is finished with his analysis, he reports to Gus Fring that while Hector Salamanca is no longer a comatose state, there is no telling when he will wake up or whenever he will understand what's going on around him when he does. He further says that the hospital is doing the best it can and that only in institutions such as John Hopkins could give Hector Salamanca better treatment. Barry asks whether a man like Hector Salamanca doesn't deserve to be in this condition, but Gus Fring insists that he alone gets to decide Hector Salamanca's fate. Kim is woken up early by the sound of Jimmy making orange juice in a juicer. He has scheduled a series of job interviews around Albuquerque all day and is eager to get started despite having a meeting scheduled with Howard to discuss Chuck's will. Although Kim remarks that Jimmy doesn't have to start his job hunt so soon, he hurriedly leaves after fixing her breakfast. Kim is uneasy with Jimmy's behavior. When Manuel opens his upholstery shop, he finds Ignacio Nacho Varga inside waiting for him. And Nacho tells his father that Hector Salamanca's harassment is over, but Manuel gives his son the cold shoulder. Manuel silently removes Hector's drug money from a lockbox, and Nacho collects it and turns to leave. But Manuel asks his son when he will be able to get out of his life of crime, and Nacho tells him that he's working on it. Jimmy goes to an interview for a sales position at Neff Copiers, I should say, and Mr. Neff's office, he notices a Hummel figurine that reminds him of one of the old ladies, and the guy tells him that they belong to his aunt and that he keeps them for sentimental reasons. When Mr. Neff asks why he isn't a lawyer anymore, Jimmy deflects by telling a couple of lawyer jokes. The interview ends with Mr. Neff promising to contact Jimmy by the end of the week. However, Jimmy impulsively walks back into the office and makes a theatrical pitch about copiers. Impressed, Mr. Neff and his assistant Henry agree to hire him on the spot. Jimmy then expresses anger that they would be so naive that they would hire him based on a pitch without properly, looking into his stuff. And then Jimmy turns down the job and leaves the store. Mike is at the park with Kaylee when he gets a phone call summoning him to a meeting. He finds himself in a hotel conference room with Lydia, who questions him about his trip to the Madrigal warehouse in La Cruces. She is worried that Mike's actions raise the risk of exposure, while Mike reasons that publicly performing his duties as Madrigal's security consultant reinforces his cover story. Mike further tells her that he plans to visit Madrigal's other 7 terminals in the Southwest and do the same thing each time. Finding herself at an impasse with Mike, Lydia tells him that he still has Gus Fring's respect and warns him not to lose it. And then a doctor nervously examines Hector Salamanca while the cousins stand guard silently in the room. The visit is interrupted by the sudden arrival of a hospital director accompanied by Dr. Maureen Bruckner, a specialist from Johns Hopkins who has flown to Albuquerque to treat Hector Salamanca after a generous grant has been given to the hospital just today by one of the donors. Dr. Bruckner speaks Spanish to the cousins and explains that is starting a new form of treatment which involves stimulating Hector Salamanca's brain. After Nacho and Arturo arrive, Dr. Bruckner encourages the four men present to talk to Hector Salamanca. The cousins silently urge on the other two to do the talking. Arturo updates an unresponsive Hector on the turf dispute, while Nacho says about support and tells him that he will get past this and be stronger than ever. Gus Fring sweeps trash in the parking lot of Los Porros Hermanos, waiting for Tyrus to come with an update. He receives a phone call on his burner from Lydia, who complains about Mike. But Gus ends the call when Tyrus arrives. And then Tyrus informs him about Hector Salamanca's current treatment and prognosis and hands him a manila envelope containing Hector Salamanca's medical charts. Gus, apparently realizing something, tells Hector or Tyrus not to return to the hospital, but instead arrange a meeting with Victor. Kim arrives at HHM, where Howard Hamlin is finishing his meeting with Rebecca and Julie. Kim learns that Jimmy will be allowed to search the ruins of Chuck's house for keepsakes before the property is liquidated. Howard gives her an unopened personal letter from Chuck, a check for $5,000, the minimum amount necessary to prevent Jimmy from contesting the will, and a seat on the board of scholarship committee in Chuck's name. Kim is furious, and after Rebecca leaves, angrily lashes out at Howard for forcing Jimmy to suffer through these indictments. She further accuses him of being hurtful and self-serving and telling Jimmy about his theory that Chuck killed himself, pointing out that he never said the same thing to Rebecca, and then Kim tells Howard to stay away, leaving him alone in his office. Jimmy arrives home with the Thai dinner, telling Kim that he found a couple of promising job leads over the course of the day. Kim opts not to hand Jimmy the unopened letter from Chuck, while Jimmy doesn't go into detail about the job he rejected at the copier place. After the two sit down to watch the film White Heat, they spontaneously make love on the couch. Later, Jimmy wakes up and browses through an online store, finding a Hummels figurine similar to Mr. Neff's that fetches for almost $9,000. Jimmy goes to the patio and phones Mike, leaving a voicemail telling him about a potential score. Nacho and Arturo arrive at Los Porros Hermanos chicken farm to collect their next pickup of drugs. Arturo resolves to pick up 6 bundles, reasoning that it's what Hector Salamanca normally gets. However, when they go inside, Victor and Tyrus only have laid out 5 bricks on the table instead of 6. Arturo insists on taking 6, to which Victor counters that the boss he represents is on life support, so that they can either take the 5 or walk away with nothing. And then a standoff ensues. Nacho brandishes his gun, at which point Victor relents and gives them the 6th bundle. As Nacho and Arturo walk back to their car outside, Arturo boasts about making Victor and Tyrus piss in their pants. No sooner does he say that Nacho sees shadows, realizing that they're not alone. And then before they can react, Gus Fring appears and slips a plastic bag over Arturo's head, wrestles him to the ground, and hogties his hands and feet with assistance from Victor. Several more of Gus's men draw their guns on Nacho and force him to watch his partner suffocate to death. As Arturo takes his last breath, Gus Fring turns to Nacho and tells him he knows what he did to Hector, but the Salamancas are not yet aware. He coldly asserts, "From now on, you are mine," and then walks away, leaving Nacho to contemplate his dilemma. And that's what ends this episode of Better Call Saul. So, pretty good episode here. 8.6 out of 10. And my characters of the episode, obviously we know that Jimmy is for the most part, the character of every episode. But if you, aside from him, obviously you have to go with Ignacio Nacho Varga in this episode and Kim Wexler. Kim had a really strong moment with Howard Hamlin at HHM, and that was a really powerful moment in my opinion. So you've heard everything I had to say. Now it's your turn if you're a fan of Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, or El Camino Breaking Bad movie, and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please consider Hulk smashing the like button. Otherwise, I'll have to send Mike, the security consultant, after you, and you know what happens when Mike gets his hands on you. You're probably not doing very well. Share the video with a friend. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Better Call Saul. What would you score it, and whom, if you had to choose, would be your characters of the episode? Obviously, we know Jimmy is the character for the most part of almost all the episodes on this show. Remember to click right here for my Better Call Saul Season 6 reviews. If you've seen every single episode of Better Call Saul, click right here for all my Breaking Bad reviews and rankings and all that and more. And then last, but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.